Hello and welcome back to Breg Army. My name's Steve, and today for our build we have for you a good old BMP. Veteran of just about every single war since it was built in the 60s and still going strong. So, as you can tell, with the smaller 30mm autocannon there, I'm doing a BMP 2, and specifically this is the MS version. The Sluban kit does allow you to do 3, a BMP 1, which will have the 73 Grom gun, as well as 2 BMP 2 versions, but I've opted for this one. So we'll do a quick speed build, 60 seconds, I'll show you some pics, and then we'll get into it. Let's crack on and build. So, welcome back. Right, now before I start this review properly, I've had some issues with Sluban kits recently with parts missing. If you've seen the videos for the IS2 stroke ISU 122, I had a few bits missing for that. I've also got one kit that I was going to do that week that I did the IS2, but I was missing some important bits that I couldn't continue with the build on that, and I'm still waiting for those bits as I record this video. So I've not had a great time with Sluban of late. However, I'm pleased to report that there are no missing pieces for this Sluban model. In fact, there are a stack of extra pieces, partly because this is a 3-in-1 model. Okay, so well done Sluban, you got yourselves back on track, hopefully. So, instructions. First of all, if I show you, you have 2 options on BMP 2s and 1 BMP 1, which is basically where all the extra pieces come from, as you would expect. Now, the instructions are pretty average, fairly standard. However, because if you notice this is quite a dark green, something that I've literally only just realised is that if you notice on the front there we have these grey, let's call them filter pieces, and then back here we have green filter pieces. They should actually be reversed. I've just noticed that looking at the pictures there. However, when I've just checked on the instructions, it's actually still very difficult to see what's supposed to be grey and what's supposed to be green, and it's purely because this is such a dark green. And then when you have the black pieces as well, it's a little tricky sometimes to see exactly which pieces are supposed to be where. So that's not brilliant, but it's not life and death. So as I say, you can work it out. I've only just worked it out, obviously, just before going on camera, which is always the best time to do it. But everything is here. That's the main thing. I've not had to scrabble around and try and find an extra piece to make up the numbers and puff up a little bit or strengthen a bit. It's all here. Everything fits very nicely together. So as far as the design of this is concerned, overall it's pretty good. It's reasonably well detailed, it's pretty lifelike, there's some really nice little features in it. The way that they have done this particular contoured line here, they've put it on a hinge and then gone back and joined to a node there to get that. If I show that way, I'm probably better off doing it with the gun facing down there, so you get that nice line, diagonal line coming in. That's a nice little touch. At the front, for one of the lower glacis and the up glacis, which you would think would be very fragile, you can push that quite hard. It doesn't come apart. And there's some nice little touches to this as well. The BMP, if you didn't know, is an amphibious APC or infantry fighting vehicle. I'm not entirely sure what the difference between the two of them is, but because it can ford rivers, you would bring this up for the driver so you don't get a bow wave that comes up over and pushes the nose under the water and also drowns the driver. That's a very nice little touch. At the back here, the doors, slightly difficult to get hold of, but they move easily enough. You've got access to the interior and two compartments for 4 troops either side, although apparently very cramped. And surprisingly, if you've done a few of these models, you look at this and you think, that's going to be fragile, that's going to be fragile, that's going to be fragile, that's going to be fragile. These two bits on top of the turret are actually quite a little bit fragile, but the lights at the front, and surprisingly, the old Soviet log at the back here, no, they're quite stable indeed. When making this, it was pretty solid all the way through. There were a few bits that up until you got to a certain part were fragile, but then were fine. And very much with the turret. The turret struck me as I was building it and was thinking, oh, this is a bit... but actually, once you get it all together and all marries up, it's pretty good. It's pretty solid indeed. You don't have to worry too much about that. So, I have to say, Sluban have renewed my faith in them. The only issue that I have with this, and you get 3 minifigures with it, they're pretty bog standard, they're okay, was the tracks. The tracks were the biggest problem, and I'm sure I must have encountered this before at some point, but basically with the tracks, there was either one track too many or one track too few. So as you can see, if I just, you may not see it, but the track is a little bit droopy there. Now you can remove one link and get it done up, but it's not going to move at all. It's far too tight for it to be able to do that. So you add a link and you end up with what I have here with the slightly droopy track, but then when you put the machine on the ground, the track is so loose that it doesn't actually stay on the wheels terribly well. Which if you're going to set it up and then plan on not moving it, that doesn't really matter too much, because you obviously set it up and put the track in the proper place, and well, that's it. If you are planning on, the track does move very nicely like this, but it's not necessarily where it's supposed to be. So moving it along here, it's just a little too loose. This is drifting that way, that's drifting outwards. As I say, take off one link and it's too tight to move. You add that link back in and you end up with floppy track. And hey, who needs floppy track? So overall, it's not bad actually. And this was £14, which I think is for the amount of time and pieces, that's quite a reasonable figure, I feel. £14. I think the Sherman that I've got just there, that was also £14. And I would say this is, as far as levels of detail go and complexity of building, this is slightly above that. So you certainly, you get your money's worth out of it. Excuse me. And at least Sluban have renewed my faith in them, because if I was getting to the point where I was just not going to order any more Sluban models, which would be unfortunate, because Sluban do have a very extensive range of models, and they just do stuff that you cannot, almost nobody else does, which would have been a bit of an issue. But we will see how we go on that. I still have, as I say, one Sluban model that I am waiting for bits for, which is now 6 weeks, I think, since I started that one. And by the time you're seeing this, it'll be closer to 2 months. So hopefully those bits will be coming through and I can complete that model, because I will be really quite teasy should that not happen. So, adding it all up then, it's £14. It's got quite a good level of detail. Everything holds together pretty well. The overall design is very accurate. You've got 3 minifigures with it. You've got 3 options also on the build that you want to do with it. So you've got the BMP 1, which takes you up to about the mid-70s, I think it is. And then you've got the BMP 2 that takes you from then until now. So if you're if you've got a particular time that you like your models to be part of, then you do have options with that. But this, it's pretty good actually. It's renewed my faith in Sluban, which is a good thing. So hopefully you've liked this video. If you have, please smash that like button and hit the subscribe. But if not, just keep watching the videos, and I'll see you again soon. You take care. Bye bye.